Hello, everyone. This is Kops Office Hours. It is July 20th. This meeting is being recorded and will be put on the internet, so be mindful of that. We do have a couple of items on the agenda. Please do add more things if you would like to be sure to discuss them. I think, as we just mentioned, the probably top of everyone's mental agenda is the release of 110, which is, I will say, 110 beta is late, and I apologize, but it is imminent. I think we've burned down all the PRs that have gone in that were tagged with the 110 milestone. Some of them had to be punted to 111, but 111 should be a fairly fast follow on 110 has been our plan. And then there are a couple of newer PRs that came in over the last 24 hours. So we're just like triaging those and seeing which ones should go into 110. Some of them obviously should, because they are bug fixes that we introduced during the merges, and some of them are very low risk, and generally good, but yeah, just need to burn those last couple down. And so I will try to cut a beta either this evening or tomorrow. So do keep an eye out for that. And yes, if you have any PRs or bugs, issues that you're aware of that really someone should take a look at before we do that, please do commenting on them is probably the easiest way. Everyone has permission to comment, and then it will appear as like recently updated. So that should be fairly, yeah, hopefully that will work. I don't know if anyone has any particular things they want to call attention to immediately, but otherwise, yeah, that's the plan. And then so we'll also do a 1.11 alpha. Probably, I guess I'll do it the same weekend, but this weekend as well. And I will also do a 1.9, whatever it is, 2 or 3. The next a backport of 1.9, yeah, 2. There are some PRs. There's also one which is sort of personally important to me, which is that we have a fairly aggressive retry policy on our downloads of some binaries, particularly protocube and NodeUp. And those come from a bucket which is currently paid for by me. Amazon gave us some credits, but we had a couple of clusters that seem to have gone into some sort of retry loop and basically have exhausted the credits. And so the backport is to basically slow that down to the point where it's an affordable rate of retries. We would obviously love to figure out the actual issue, and I did put out a list of IP addresses which were the top 10 offenders, as it were. They all seem to be fairly locked down, so I figured that was safe, but I have not yet heard from anyone that may have that. But if you have a cluster that has some nodes that are stuck in a loop retrying NodeUp or protocube, please do contact me on Slack. I would love to figure out the underlying issue. We had one thing that I thought was it, but actually turned out to be something different around IPv6. But actually not even around IPv6, just around firewalling. But yes, so I will do a backport of that, and that also includes some other fixes as well. And yes, and I think probably in 1.11 or 1.12, there's a long-term goal to get this into a CNCF account. And so we will try to make it pull from either a different S3 bucket or like a vanity domain, which we can repoint to an S3 bucket or a whatever it would be, GCS bucket, or that different backend, so that we're not tied to anything. And of course, if you are worried about it being on my account, there is ample support for overriding it and pointing it to your own mirror. So, but yes. Hopefully, I expect once we get the retry rate down a little bit, I will ask AWS I will go back to the well and with my cap in hand and ask them for a couple more credits.
Justin, I was going to say for the 1.11 alpha, are you planning to make stretch the default?
I think technically we still fail E to E.
Oh, really? Ah, okay. A lot of people, everyone's asking. I bet a few people even on this call want it.
Yeah, maybe, we can probably, there is one test. I think that would be a good thing to do. There is one test that fails. It isn't a real failure. It is a failure because of the newer Well, I think there's a newer kernel in Stretch than there is even in our. I think Stretch uses 4.9, and we have a 4.4 kernel in our Jessie. We sort of we have a newer kernel in Jessie, but we use standard Stretch kernel, and the 4.9 kernel fails a networking E2E test because it exposes network statistics in a different format. So it's not as far as I know, it's not a real failure. It is just a kernel proc fs change. And so yes, we can. But what we could do is we could simply disable that one test. We do exclude a couple of tests. Kops does not install the dashboard by default, so we disable the dashboard test, for example, which seems like a fair E2E test to skip.
Cool.
So yes, that is a good call to try to make it the default. Yeah.
Hey, is there any way that we can PR against those cope.io images, or is that off limit? Cool.
Yeah, they are. So this is topical actually. So they are maintained in a repo called github.com/kubernetes/kubedeploy, and there's a subdirectory in there called image builder, which actually is a snapshot of the Debian tool that builds images, whose name is something I forget, but
Debootstrap, or what is it?
It's a wrapper around Debootstrap. So it's a wrapper around the tool which wraps Debootstrap, and it is called, I'm trying to find the name. Anyway, it's the same tool that is used to build the official Bootstrap VZ is the name of the tool. So there's a Bootstrap VZ is the tool that's used to build the official Debian images, and we have our own tool that essentially automates running Bootstrap VZ. So it's run on so it's sort of a more I don't want to say more secure. It's a more repeatable process. Anyway, so if you want to add a package, for example, you could add it to the template.
Right. So the case, like the cope.io image to default in the channels would be something like the AWS 1.9 Jessie or Stretch image. Is that it's based off of that?
Yes.
Okay. So
I should be creating a 110. I should create a 110 one. I'm guessing that I just haven't created it yet.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think we should also put that in the docs somewhere more prominent, because I've had people actually asking where to actually find how the images are built, also where they're from, to if they can trust them or not. So
I didn't know until right now. So
yeah, I just remember someone told me like a while ago, but it's really non-findable in the Kops directories.
I can do that. I can get that done.
We're talking actually. So the kubedeploy project. Image Builder is now the only thing left in there, and we're talking about moving Image Builder to the top level of that repository, and or renaming kubedeploy to something more discoverable, and or changing this so that it lives under SIG cluster lifecycle or SIG AWS, because it's a little this repo predates.
It's sort of hidden.
It's hidden, and it predates the sort of more rational repo organizational structure. This repo, I think, is several years old now. But yes, the images are there. It is definitely intended to be repeatable, and you should be able to build it on your own machine, and you should feel free to do so, right? If you have any doubts.
Sweet.
Cool. And then the kernel that we build is, well, if you're using the Stretch kernel, it's the standard kernel, but the kernel is in Copio/Kubernetes kernel, I believe. Yeah, Copio/Kubernetes-kernel. And again, you should definitely feel free to do that. But I mean, the hope is that, we won't have to build our own kernel anymore with Stretch. And there's also the potential to look at using Amazon System Linux 2, which uses systemd, which was the blocker before. So another option is to switch to that, and then switch to Amazon System Linux or Debian Stretch. Yet a third option is there's again talk of our building an official AMI, like making this not a Kops thing. And so we can take Image Builder or figure out what it is, and I don't know, but yes, that is a longer term option. So for 111, we should probably try to make stretch the default is probably the easy answer.
Yeah, I think for now we should stay with Debian and just to keep things going.
Yeah, I mean we have to continue to have that. I think we should continue to have it as an option, and even if we make stretch the default, I don't want to say to people, you know, we don't have the Jesse image anymore without fair warning.
Oh yeah,
the change, and so, but yes, like it would be nice to effectively say, you know, this other project, whatever it is doing a great job, so we're gonna like, you know,
we're gonna outsource that.
Yeah, exactly. Put like a timeout on it, and we're going to stop building it after a year, and you should start thinking about moving to it. But we're not yet saying that. So
cool. All right, I'll add some documentation on that about how to access that, and I also have changes for 1.9 for Jesse and Stretch. So I'll send them over.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, and I actually found it. So the 110 and 111 images are missing, but there is an open PR number 699. So I don't know. We should probably get actually now that we're the only people in there, we can also add our owners into that repo, and we can start approving our own PRs, as it were.
Cool, I'll take a look.
Thank you. And okay, so I think, have we talked enough about the status, or does anyone want to talk more?
Maybe people want to talk more, but I think most of us just want to know what we can do to help this out and to help get this thing out, and to make it so that it's not so like reliant on you, if at all possible, because I know that you are super busy with Google now. And
yeah, I mean, I think everything that everyone's been sending in wonderful PRs and doing wonderful PR reviews, and that's great, and that's super helpful. And just triaging, and like if there are any issues that need to be looked at, to, well, obviously helping with issues, but you know, to bump them as even as an end user that doesn't necessarily have any permissions, that would be wonderful. Just so we can sort of make sure we don't miss anything important, like the package issue that I think you raised. Mm-hmm. I see the next item is actually about a PR that is being requested to go in. I think, before we tackle that one, anyone else want to? All right, I think anything else, or should we move on to that PR? I'm guessing this is the one about the alternate spot inst. Yes.
So I got a personal request. This has been sitting in PR and kind of like in a retest loop for a few weeks now. I'm not sure, you know, what can be done, and I don't know what the cycle is. It's all kind of opaque to me. But just at least one person, real life person, not a bot, interested in getting this merged in. But I'm not sure what the process is for that. So if I can help, I'm happy to. But I just kind of wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, let me have another look at it. I think my concern with it is just the sort of sheer weight of the code, and that it is potentially a large maintenance burden. And I want us to understand whether there's anything we can do to make it a more maintainable in future PR.
For sure.
I think that is the concern. That's why it keeps getting like pushed to the bottom of my to-do list, which essentially means that I never get to it. Which I apologize for. And that's sort of, yeah, that's why, as it were. So I don't think there's anything necessarily technically wrong with it. It's just the sheer weight and the burden versus the value, right? So it is valuable to understand that you are a real user and want to use it. And I think the question is like, how many other people out there are there that have that?
Me. I'd like to use it too.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I was just poking through it, and I noticed that it's at least behind a feature flag, you know, so it does seem low risk in that regard. But I mean, it's a lot of code even when I go to take a look at it. Yeah, you know, I think the if we can lower the risk, the minimum amount, it'd be awesome to get that in.
Okay. Well, at least share that feedback with our good friends at Spotinst, just to see if we can, you know, come to some sort of broker some kind of deal. I would like to. I guess the follow-up question I have is really based on, like, I feel like I'm using their fork of Kubernetes and Kops, well, of Kops really, and I think I'm like kind of pinned to a version that doesn't have like all of the necessary fixes that have, you know, come over time. So I feel like that's kind of where I'm stuck at right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I think there's also, I mean, the long-term hope is that this goes into a machine controller, but that is, you know, a longer term. So it would be less baked into Kops, but that is a longer term. That's not a short-term answer. So
yeah. Maybe, I mean, if 110 is to, 111, you said we were potentially cutting alphas shortly. So, I mean, maybe we could look at getting it in there and figuring out how to make it work.
Yeah, and I think I did put it into the 111 milestone for that reason, because it's just too. It would impact the 110 schedule. It would delay 110 too much, or I worry it would delay 110 too much. But I will have another look at it and see. If we're cutting 111 this weekend, then we can probably try to. Yeah, we can see if we can get it in if that burden is acceptable, as it were.
Sure. My only request is if you could just drop a comment on the PR just to let us know like where your head's at.
That makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I'm sorry for not doing that. I will do that.
I mean, you're busy, dude. Appreciate you.
Thank you. And I think you had another item, Elena. 4049, a question.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if it makes sense for this. So there's a whole, I've gone through a few issues about like GitHub issues, about this C group issue specifically. And essentially, I think like in certain, I feel as though there is a fix that's like, hey, put your, like specify in your Kops cluster, in your spec file, specify, these places for C groups. And it's just like, okay, that seems to, other people in the internet say that's a fix. I say that seems like a hack, and this is something that kind of should get like kind of fixed in Kops. But far be it for me to know, all of the magic that happens underneath the covers. But I just wanted to know your thoughts on like whether or not this is like an actual issue that should be fixed, or this is something that individual folks should be specifying in all of their cluster spec files. So that's the question I had. Like, what's the plan here?
You're absolutely right. This is, I just put a comment on it myself to bump it to the top of the list, which said we should fix this in 111. So I think what happened here was that, let's think. So early, we had to use different C groups to make it work on Ubuntu. And we're talking about like, I think before even 1404. So this is a while, no, maybe it was 1404, but anyway, this was a while ago. And I think we've stuck with those, but it does spew warnings, which seem benign. But what we should do is try to fix those warnings and see what's going on, I guess, upstream. I presume that we can, we should definitely fix this. As far as I know, it doesn't cause any impact, but
right.
It is annoying. And like having logs spewing is not good, full stop. And so, yeah, thank you for drawing attention to it. And yeah, it would be good to, so in terms of timing, it would be good to do it. I think we can probably change the defaults in, so it's safe to, what we'll do is we'll change it so that the defaults are, effectively those C groups are set in automatically if you are running Kubernetes greater than or equal to 111, which is sort of how we introduce new features. So if you're running an existing cluster, it won't change, but you'll sort of get it. And we'll have to validate that it actually works, but yeah.
Awesome.
Hopefully it's just a matter of setting those flags that were found on the internet and making them the default.
For sure. I just want to say thank you. That solves most of my problems in my life.
Cool. I was actually thinking a little bit more about the spot-inst thing, and one of the interesting things could be the machine controller might not be that far away for nodes, and I presume that, or question, like the value of spot-inst is greater for the nodes than it is for the masters, question mark? I mean, do you run your spot-inst is a way to do, it's still running spot instances, right? It's automatic bidding for spots?
Yes. And so I'd say yes for the nodes, definitely. Just for our particular use case, we want to make sure that we kind of like, we're going to be using larger instance types. And those get a little more costly in AWS. So it makes, so our preference, if we had to pick, which one came first, nodes, but definitely, the entire cluster, we would like to run it in spot-inst.
Okay, interesting. So you do run masters in a spot even when you're
I mean, for now, I mean, living on the edge, but it would probably.
I mean, it works fine, right? It's just, and I do it myself because it's cheaper. But like, I feel like once you get to a certain price point, the price of the masters is sort of irrelevant.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I think, you know, paying an extra like however many dollars just to make sure your entire cluster doesn't fall over.
Yeah, that's sort of the trade-off. But anyway, cool. All right. Well, anyway, I will comment on that issue and think about that, because if we have a nice way, yeah, I'll comment on that approach as well. All right. Next on the agenda, which I think actually we covered already, is where is the images? How to PR? Is there an official place other than account address? Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Awesome. And yes, the long-term goal, the goal that has been on the agenda for a long time is to get this into a CNCF account so that it's not linked to any individual. And the challenge to date has primarily been around figuring out a good infrastructure for secure builds. Obviously, having any human in the mix is not secure, but if a human takes like precautions, then they're probably more secure than like a Travis build, I guess you'd say. So that's sort of the trade-off, and why it's tricky. Yeah, because there's also a money issue, but I don't think that's as big a deal for our particular project. And Fred, 110 beta versus the master.
Justin, I think you answered all the questions we had regarding, because we see a lot of PRs landing in master. We're kind of curious what was part of 110 and what would be part of 111 and so on. But I think you've answered all the questions there.
Yeah, I think we're still gonna. I think we have cut a 110 release branch, but we haven't. I mean, any PRs that land on master, I think will still go into the 110. I will cherry pick them all across, or fast forward merge them all across. Once we cut the beta, that will no longer be the case, and particularly once we cut 111, 111 alpha, that will no longer be the case. There we will do individual cherry picks. So you actually, there are a couple of PRs that have a label like cherry pick candidate, and those are those are the ones that I think should go into the 1.9 branch, which is otherwise, effectively closed, right? Certainly there wouldn't be, certainly no automatic PRs. Certainly PRs will not automatically go into the 1.9 branch. We're not going to the 1.9 branch by default anymore, and we have to manually curate any PRs we want to backport. So for now, anything in master will go into 110. Once we do 111 alpha, that will not be the case, and we'll have to explicitly identify any PRs we want to go into 110.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying that.
Yeah, more detail. I'm not sure if it's clarifying, but yeah. All right, we've reached the end of the agenda. Is there anything else anyone would like to discuss? Or is everyone so keen to see the 110 beta that they want to just end the meeting immediately?
Yes.
I see a lot of nodding.
You can tag me on anything. I'm happy to take a look at PR if I have some time. So
That is awesome.
at GeoJazz.
We'll also say we have I think we have a new approver. I'm just seeing whether it actually has gone through, but Mike Spain has been doing a wonderful job of reviewing PRs, and we proposed him this morning as an approver, which means he's able to actually approve PRs and not just review them. And it looks like, yes, Rodrigo LGTM seconded it. So congratulations and thank you for all the work, Mike.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And also, if anyone else wants to get involved in PR review or approving, please. What I always say is you can always comment on the PRs and sort of act like a reviewer, even if your LGTM doesn't technically mean anything. And so please feel free to do that. And I think I've been noticing some people doing that. So thank you for the people that have been stepping up and helping with the review load. It is very helpful. And thank you, of course, for everyone contributing to the PRs as well.
We pay attention to them. Even we pay attention to everybody's comments. So it doesn't matter.
expect a few. I'll have a long flight to San Francisco, and the spot thing seems to be important. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Are you out here for next week?
Yes. So basically, CNCF paid for my ticket, and I was like, if you pay for that, I can pay for the FA. So.
That's great. Well, I'm a block away from the conference, so we should all get some drinks. Anybody's in town. Yeah.
I will stop the recording, and then you can make drinks plans.
Sounds great.
Happy weekend, everybody.
See you, everybody.